So let's go to our actions and considerations, and then if we have time, we'll jump back to the examples because we're going to dive into a little bit of answering that question a little deeper and really taking some action planning here. So I like acronyms. I made it up. Feel free to rearrange it to make it your own. But I was thinking, hey, don't be scared, be SCAD. To take some actions to start identifying your unconscious bias, we're going to go into self-reflection, consult, and we're going to go into who you're consulting with, getting feedback. We're going to actually do some action planning and using data, right? Doing some data review. So first is self-reflection. So if you get asked that hard question and you know your biases are in the way or the families are just not aligning, there's value disconnect, be it between you and the family or the learner and a stakeholder or the community and that learner, wherever that disconnect happens, pause. Biases are most likely to surface and to create a problem or a disconnect when you're rushed, when you're overwhelmed, when things are moving fast or are very ambiguous and not operationally defined, or sit down and really consider what everyone's talking about. When cultural norms differ, for sure, you guys can recognize that. When you feel a really strong emotion, right? When you're feeling really frustrated, you're feeling really angry, you're feeling really defensive, maybe you're feeling really just uncomfortable, or you're making quick decisions. So if you can pause and recognize, oh, I have a really strong feeling against this behavior, or I have a really strong frustration every time a parent asks me to do this, right? Or, oh, I can't believe that, that tech didn't take data on that goal again. You're feeling frustrated, right? And when you start doing that, you're going to start create more biases. You're going to start letting those unconscious biases take over. So when you're feeling these large emotions related to other people where you may be making clinical decisions or supervision, ask yourself, what are you labeling this behavior as? Be it your behavior, the learner's behavior, the parent behavior. Label it. The more we can operationally define it, then you can break it down. You can actually identify it and use your behavior analysis, right? All the skills you already know, and not let your overwhelm take over. What assumptions am I making? So I'm making an assumption, and I just actively did, right? I point finger at myself, right? That I just said, oh, this family wants motor stereotypy to go away because they don't want their child to visually have autism. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they, don't want their kid to get bullied, or maybe they just don't understand what the motor stereotypy is, or maybe they saw another kid hurt themselves because of the level of stereotypy, or they hurt somebody else, or they became accidentally property destructive because they can't stand still in a line. I don't know. I just assumed 10 things. So identify and then ask those questions, right? Oh, I'm assuming that you don't want motor stereotypy to occur with your child because, but I might be wrong. Tell me why, right? Stop and pause. Ask those questions. Don't let your unconscious bias take over and make assumptions. What else could this mean, right? Like, what else could be going on? Maybe a kid is choking someone and you're like, oh, this physical aggression is occurring. People are writing violent and aggressive and all of these things that are occurring in this behavior plan in this student's life and all of these areas. But what else could this mean? Maybe he had a sore throat once, or maybe he saw someone else do it, and we can break this behavior down, and now it's an imitation goal. It's not even a choking goal. I don't know. And what data do I actually have? And that's going to be one of our last actions and considerations in SCAD. But start looking at what data can you take? Can you take ABC data on yourself? Start a self-management program. Where did I let unconscious bias take over this week? What goals or targets did I put in a treatment plan based on an assessment that I chose without asking the family if it's important, right? Start having some self-reflection based on where you're feeling uncomfortable, where you're feeling frustrated, where you're feeling defensive, where you're, oh my gosh, I need help. I need mentorship. I don't know what's happening on this trainee, this case, this goal, this family, right? Start with pausing and asking yourself some questions. and then take data. Okay, next in SCAD would be consult. So who are you consulting? You're consulting mentors, stakeholders, who else is involved in this family's life, right? Consult the learner themselves, right? Do a value-based assessment, do a BASC self-assessment, have them engage in, new probe data, do a preference assessment. Like, what else is, ask them, how vocal are they? How in tune are they? I recently did a training, and a baby BCBA said, oh, you can show the learner their own data. I was always told not to do that. Why not? Right? Let them know how they're doing. Maybe you don't turn the graphs to them because that might overwhelm them or be just completely abstract, or maybe it's not. I have had a 9-year-old tell his mom, I did great today. Mackenzie took data. Right? Like, sometimes they want to be invested in their learning. Other professionals, right? Pediatricians, OTs, PTs, religious leaders, pastors, right? If you want to learn more about a religion, go to the source, right? You want to go learn about a culture, go expose yourself to that culture. You want to know what high school kids are doing? Go to the high school, go to the college campus, right? Expose yourself to those diverse populations. And that's a direct consult, right? Like, figure out what the behavior norms and cultures are. When should you consider consultation? Proactively, that's always the best, but also actively, like, oh, this case became overwhelming, or this goal is not aligned, or I'm feeling really frustrated with this family because. Actively consult, seek those consultations out. And then reactively, oh, that didn't go well, or I'm feeling really misaligned, or, oh yeah, I definitely let my unconscious bias take over there. Reactively consult, do a debrief with the person or the family or their unit or the supervision team, whatever that group or person is, and get feedback. How did that make you feel? Because I felt uncomfortable, right? Own it. And then just an example of a question, there's 1,000 consult types of questions you can go through, but how is this behavior viewed in your family, in your community? Ask those questions. Hey, I don't live on a farm. What does this behavior look like on a farm? Or, oh, motor stereotypy, I hear that you value the discontinuation of that. How is motor stereotypy viewed in your family, in your community? What does that feel like for you? Okay, then what to do next? Take some action. You guys could start doing this right now. Identify your personal and professional values. Pick a value that's important to you as a person, as a professional. Go back to the ethics code if you need to start somewhere. And then pick 1, 2, 3. What behavior or action moves you toward that value right now? What behavior change can you make in the moment right now? Maybe it's more compassion and you now are going to ask more questions, or whatever the case may be, right? What moves you toward it and not away? Language shifting. We've been talking about this a lot, right? Like, hey, maybe we don't call it attention-seeking behavior anymore and you actually call it seeking connection. Ooh, that sounds so much better, right? That unconscious bias won't lie in that learner's or that student, on their record, or constantly talk, oh, that kid's so attention-seeking, versus, oh, that kid seeks connection a lot. That really changes how you view it, right? It changes the way it triggers somebody's biases. Problem behavior. This is like my new one, this soapbox for the last year. Who is it a problem for? Usually not the learner. Usually it's actually very adaptive and it's very functional. So rather than calling it a problem behavior, actually calling it a target behavior. Is it a target behavior to increase? Are we targeting it to decrease? Just calling it behavior sometimes is helpful and not further labeling it. And then make yourself a measurable goal. What are you going to do now to start identifying your unconscious bias? You don't have to get rid of unconscious bias, right? It's not something that's wrong. It's not something that's bad. It's something that exists and you want to identify it so it doesn't get in the way of your clinical work. Not only does it not get in the way of your clinical work, it also gives you the opportunity to say, wow, this case is misaligned. I don't feel comfortable on this case. And that's okay too. Recognizing your unconscious bias sometimes can get in the way of clinical work, and then giving yourself self-advocacy and understanding and compassion that it's okay to seek consult or to change cases. Okay, and then last would be data review. Use what you're already good at. This is the easy slide if you think about it, right? Use more operational definitions. Define your own behaviors. Use data instead of summaries, rather than saying, oh, that parent's inconsistent, that family's not implementing, that parent never shows up. Talk about it in data. Oh, they perform in 65% of opportunities. It's going to change the way you work with that family. It's going to change action. And guess what? When they start performing at 70% of opportunities, it's going to feel good. You're going to make progress versus saying, oh, that parent's a little less inconsistent. They're showing up a little bit more. Compare across contexts. Is your behavior or unconscious bias or comfortability better with certain families, with certain age groups? It's okay to say, I do really well with early learners. That's okay. If you want to grow more and expand your scope, then you know where your unconscious bias lies, right? And you know where you need more mentorship and consult. Look for your patterns. Look for impressions, right? So rather than just saying like, oh, I don't work well with 9-year-olds. Do you? Or you just didn't work well with that one 9-year-old? Actually start identifying patterns. Take data. Do a data review on yourself and your own behaviors. Identify if you're working actively on cases right now and you have active treatment plans, goals, targets. Go back today and look at what's not progressing. What goals, what targets, what's stuck? Are those goals socially valid? Are they aligning with the values of that learner, of the tech, of the parent, of the stakeholder, of the school? Maybe they're not valuable and that's why no one's working on them. They're only valuable to you or the assessment you ran maybe. That's okay. We can make change. Modify, implement the change now. Review the data and you can make changes.